This is African American History is American History. Welcome. I'm your host, Harlan Kearsley. This program's goal is to foster understanding, promote discussion, and expand knowledge through stories of historical events, bios of unsung heroes, as well as timely and relevant news stories which, hopefully, will paint a vivid picture of the effects of segregation, discrimination, and bigotry on the lives of both blacks and whites. Comparisons will be made between the many racially fractured periods of American history and what's going on right now.
I invented jazz in 1902.
That's how Jelly Roll Morton often introduced himself, a claim that aroused some resentment. But according to jazz historians, he was probably right about his claim of having invented jazz, at least jazz as we've come to know it today. This pianist, bandleader, and composer from New Orleans is widely regarded as a pivotal figure in early jazz. He became jazz music's first arranger, proving that the genre, rooted in improvisation, could retain its essential spirit and characteristics when notated. His composition, Jelly Roll Blues, published in 1915, was the very first published jazz composition. Jelly Roll Morton was born Ferdinand Joseph LaMothe on October 20th, 1890. The son of Creole parents, he was a mix of African, French, and Spanish. He eventually adopted the last name of his stepfather, Morton. Morton learned to play piano at age 10, and by 14, he was a piano player in a brothel, or as it was referred to then, a sporting house. There, he earned the nickname Jelly Roll. And let's just say the slang term for that time had more to do with female genitalia and, by extension, a connoisseur of the same, rather than the actual pastry.
When my grandmother found out that I was playing jazz in one of the sporting houses in the district, she told me that I had disgraced the family and forbade me to live at the house. She told me the devil music would surely bring about my downfall. But I just couldn't put it behind me.
It was in sporting houses where Morton blended the styles of ragtime and minstrelsy with dance rhythms. He was at the forefront of a movement that would soon be known as jazz. It was around 1904 when Morton started touring throughout the South, working in minstrel shows, including the popular Will Benbow's Chocolate Drops. On his off time, he was gambling and composing. His most famous work, Jelly Roll Blues, was composed during this period. This early jazz foxtrot was published in 1915 and is arguably the first jazz composition ever published. In 1926, Morton succeeded in getting a contract to make records for the largest and most prestigious record company in the United States, the Victor Talking Machine Company. This gave him a chance to bring a well-rehearsed band to play his arrangements in Victor's Chicago recording studios. These recordings by Jelly Roll Morton and his Red Hot Peppers are regarded as classics of 1920s jazz. The Red Hot Peppers featured such other New Orleans jazz luminaries as Kid Ory, Omar Simeon, George Mitchell, Johnny St. Cyr, Barney Biggard, Johnny Dodds, Baby Dodds, and Andrew Hilaire. Jelly Roll Morton recorded the jazz standard Kansas City Stomp in Richmond, Virginia on July 18th, 1923. Kansas City Stomp wasn't originally about Kansas City. After playing at a saloon called the Kansas City Bar in Tijuana, Mexico, Morton wanted to capture the liveliness of the scene. Morton said a friend of his named Jack Jones, who ran the saloon, wanted a song named after his business. Morton often played the melody of a tune simply with his right thumb. He liked to play the harmony above these notes with his other right-hand fingers. It often made his songs sound slightly out of tune, fitting for the 1910s and 1920s. Music theory experts explain this further. They have noted he frequently played a diminished fifth above his melody. The style was common in New Orleans, and he likely learned his piano quirks there. Morton played basic swing rhythms with both his left and right hand. In 1938, Morton's career was at a low point. That's when Library of Congress folklorist Alan Lomax found him at the Jungle Inn, one of the few clubs in Washington, D.C. that welcomed both white and black patrons. Jelly Roll Morton recorded a series of interviews and performances for the Library of Congress. Morton suffered from respiratory problems as a result from a stabbing in 1938. Recovery from his wounds was incomplete due to the fact that at the time of the stabbing, he was rushed to a nearby whites-only hospital. The doctors refused to treat him due to the racially segregated laws in the South at the time. So, he was transported to a colored hospital much farther away. Morton died on July 10th, 1941, in Los Angeles County General Hospital, just weeks after visiting the city with a series of manuscripts of new tunes and arrangements. He was planning to form a new band and restart his career. According to the jazz historian David Gelly in 2000, Morton's arrogance and obnoxious persona alienated so many musicians over the years that no colleagues or admirers attended his funeral. However, a contemporary news account of the funeral in the August 1st, 1941 issue of Downbeat magazine reported that the musicians Kid Ory, Mutt Carey, Fred Washington, and Ed Garland were among his pallbearers, noting the absence of Duke Ellington and Jamie Lunsford, both of whom were appearing in Los Angeles at the time. In 2005, Jelly Roll Morton was posthumously honored with the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. In 2010, the Grammy Hall of Fame inducted Jelly Roll Blues into its list. The music critic Scott Yano wrote, Jelly Roll Morton did himself a lot of harm posthumously by exaggerating his worth, claiming to have invented jazz in 1902. Morton's accomplishments as an early innovator are so vast that he did not really need to stretch the truth. So, whether Jelly Roll Morton did or didn't invent jazz, one thing's for certain. He left an indelible mark on the genre. Now, to learn more about the life and music of Jelly Roll Morton, listen to Jelly Roll Morton, the Library of Congress recordings on allmusic.com. And you can read Jelly Roll Blues, The Life, Music, and Redemption of Jelly Roll Morton by Howard Reach. This has been African American History's American History. The episode you've been listening to, Preserving Jelly, was written and directed by Harlan Kearsley, with Robert McKay as Jelly Roll Morton. I'm Harlan Kearsley, and on behalf of everyone here at African American History is American History, thank you for listening. Oh, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe. When you do, you'll be notified as soon as new episodes are posted. Thanks again. African American History is American History. Copyright H.C. Kearsley, 2019.